Let's check out Bet Online for a plethora of college football playoff final games and player lines, plus opening odds for the 2026 college football playoff. And that is, of course, a great way to get in on all your gambling stuff. And Danny Kanell joins us right now. Danny, how you been?
What's up, Zach? How's it going, man? I heard you talking a little head coaching carousel, a little quarterback offers out, numbers that are out there. I don't believe any of it. And especially the $8 million offer
for Quinn Ewers, too. No offense to Quinn Ewers, that's a lot.
If he turned that down, it's the dumbest decision he's ever made. Like, it's like winning the lottery for him. I don't believe the number is real. I don't even believe the $6 million is real. I don't believe half these numbers because they're floated by agents who are trying to drive up the price for everybody else. It's really frustrating to see some of these numbers that I think are totally fake. But I wouldn't be surprised as Quinn Ewers goes. I wouldn't be surprised if he does pull a Carson Beck or a Cam Ward, both players who pulled their name out of the NFL draft so they could get, a payday. And I think there's good money for Quinn Ewers, not $8 million. But I think there are plenty of schools that would pay him more than he would make, because I've been talking to some draft guys and even having watched him this year and seeing some of his issues with injuries and top tier arm strength. There's a chance he's a third or a fourth round pick. Like, you don't leave if that's the opportunity that's there. Now, if he's getting other advice and all it takes is one team, if he's going to be a top 15 or even a first round pick, then by all means, go ahead and go to the NFL draft. But he better make sure, or else he's going to be regretting the decision to make the jump to the NFL when the teams aren't that in love with him.
Yeah, I don't think he should be a first-round pick. I think he's more of a day two pick. So that's the second or third round. And I also think this not being a great quarterback draft could maybe help him, because we know Deion Sanders and Cam Ward are the two best quarterbacks in this draft class. I think we've thrown out 8 or 9 names at this point on who could be the third guy, and no one has really run with that opportunity.
No, you're 100% right. I think Jackson Dart's probably the sleeper for that one. He's had an incredible career at Ole Miss. He's been durable. He's put up really good numbers. He played in a system that put a lot of stress on the quarterback. It's quarterback driven in Lane Kiffin's offense. Jalen Milroe, I've seen I would not touch Jalen Milroe. Just me personally. I have not seen enough as a passer. I think it could be sort of a poor man's Anthony Richardson, like a guy who, tests really good, impresses you at the combine, but is just not shown enough as a passer to succeed at this level. I think Quinn Ewers could be there, but I do think teams, like we did see the draft year when Kenny Pickett was only first round and he dropped into the 20s. Like, yes, they overdraft quarterbacks, but these teams aren't dumb. Like, they're not just going to reach for guys. And if it becomes like the narrative in the collective, because it's true that this class isn't great, even though you're the third quarterback taken, it still could be late in the second or early in the third round. They will not just pull the trigger just to do it. So it's going to be one of the decisions that impacts Quinn Ewers for the rest of his life. And I know I was pretty surprised that when he was on College Game Day, he was like, yeah, I'm going to the NFL draft. Like, he didn't really seem like he was even considering going back to college somewhere. But I think that's because he's not aware of the offers that are at stake. And I think once he looks at all his options, I think his advisors, his team, like his family, his agent, and his mentors would tell him, you know what, you're probably better served to go back to college. And I think there's some really good options for him out there. Oregon needs a quarterback. Georgia needs a quarterback. Alabama needs a quarterback. Like, there's a lot of programs that can pay good money that you can also win with and will protect you and have good supporting cast that I think would be a very good option for Quinn Ewers, a better option than him going to play in the NFL and having to sit the bench and maybe getting the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm with you. Danny Kanell here with us. Make sure you check out Bet Online for a plethora of college football playoff final game and players like player lines and opening odds for the 2026 college football playoff. Just continuing with Texas here while we have you. Arch Manning, this time next year, how do you think we're talking about Arch Manning in Texas?
So I think he's going to be good. I want to push back a little bit on people who think it's just going to be great. Like, he's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. He is the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. They are either first or second to win the national championship in most, odds makers, including Bet Online. I just think I would be cautious because it's much more than the quarterback. We just saw their top 2 receivers, Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond, both declare for the draft. They're losing Jaden Blue, one of their top running backs. They're losing their left tackle, Calvin Banks. They're losing several players on the defensive side of the ball. And I know they reload, but I do think it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy start. And as good as Arch Manning played, he got 2 starts. It was still a little bit up and down. When he came into a couple of his spots, he did fumble a couple times. Like, I just think he's going to be good. I think it's going to take time. So can they protect him and endure some of those young mistakes in the first month of the season when I think their first game is against Ohio State too? Like, they are not going to have like a cakewalk schedule. Like, can they endure that? And I think it's going to be a good season where it's a season to build on potentially for the next year. Like, that's the season you go in, and that's where I feel like I would buy in to Arch Manning after seeing him play for a year. But I think he'll have some interceptions that are dumb. I think he'll have a bad game. I think he'll have some great games, but I just think it's going to be a little bit more typical to what you normally see first-year starting quarterbacks go through, ups and downs. It's very rarely perfect, even though it's, he's the perfect last name. He's got the perfect body, the perfect arm. Everything looks good. It's just there's a process to becoming a great quarterback, and I need to see it play out first.
So you don't think it will just necessarily be this is it, 1 year starting at Texas, and then he's off to the NFL for Arch Manning?
I don't know. I mean, he's kind of bucked the trend as far as he was more than comfortable to sit behind Quinn Ewers. He didn't want to go start somewhere right away. And probably some of it depends on who's picking number 1, like who is that opportunity. So he'll have some leverage there.
May not even matter with his family. They can move some things around. They've done it before.
Exactly. Right. That's true. He can try to manipulate it that way. The other thing is too, I feel like he has made decisions that aren't based on money, and it's a great situation to be in. He doesn't have to. And by the way, he's already made a lot of money as a backup, and he could make, if he does decide to come back for that last year, I mean, if we're throwing around $8 million, again, these numbers are probably made up, but I do think he could make 5, 6, maybe by that time, maybe if he does have a good year and show some promise. Texas is desperate. They've got probably the deepest pockets anybody. As much as we talked about Ohio State's $20 million roster, Texas had a $22 million roster. So, like, if they want to try to run it back with Arch to win a national championship, I could see him making a decision based on winning and not just jumping and making it for the money. I could see him wanting to win a national championship, something that neither one of his uncles were able to do.
Danny Kanell here with us. I'm looking at a clip right now, and it's from August 30th of 2024, and it's you and myself talking. Now, it was the summer, so I was a lot tanner. Now I'm as white as a ghost. But it says, Danny Kanell has Jerry Jones bringing both Deion and Shedeur Sanders to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, at the time, Dak Prescott didn't have a contract extension. Now he does. But that's in the news today because supposedly Coach Prime is interested in the Cowboys job and Jerry Jones is interested in Coach Prime. I ultimately think he stays at Colorado, and this is contract negotiations for him at Colorado. But what do you think happens here?
I think it's greater than 50%. I don't think it's a slim shot. I think, and Ed Werder just reported today that if he was offered the job, that he would take it. I do tend to believe that. Colorado, as good as they were this season, they really did ride Shedeur, their quarterback, and they rode Travis Hunter, who probably both going to be, it's probably 2 top 5 picks, like maybe top 3. The talent drop off is going to be hard to deal with. Their win total next season is 6.5. So like there's going to be a little bit of a reset at Colorado. If there was a time to strike, it's now. Is there a bigger brand to go to than the Dallas Cowboys, a place where Deion kept a house in the state of Texas, where he's got familiarity? I do think Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders are sort of the perfect marriage for each other. Jerry loves a little bit of chaos. He's a risk taker. He's brash. He's confident. He likes to talk. Sounds exactly like Deion. And the one thing Jerry has done, he's taken care of his guys. He's like, players that played for Jerry always rave about how loyal he is. And that's why a lot of his former coaches, Jason Garrett was a backup quarterback there. He's always kind of had some guys that have had ties there. You've got the tie of Mike Zimmer, the defensive coordinator, was an analyst at Colorado with Deion a year ago, so you could keep him in place. There's just a lot of pieces that I think make sense, and I actually think it could work. Like, that's the thing that's crazy. I think people will laugh at this, and they'll say, oh, what is maybe the similar reaction you had when Deion went to Colorado, which I was not a believer. But I do think behind the sunglasses, underneath the quotes and the bravado and the brashness of Deion Sanders, I think he's a competitor, a fierce competitor who knows how to win, and he can cut through a lot of the BS with today's player and talk to him. And I think it could work with Jerry at the helm in Dallas and Deion calling the shots for him as the head coach.
I'll pigeonhole you to get an exact number. 0 to 100. What's the percentage exactly in your mind that he gets
60.
the job?
I have it at 60%.
Okay.
So like not 90. I think it's 60%. And I think we'll know within, 3 or 4 days because they got to make a decision on somebody. And like I get like the other name I would say would be Kellen Moore.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Again, a guy that was the offensive coordinator. Like that one's probably the other name I would say. That one's probably about 65. Like I know I'm supposed to do an even number, but I think that one's probably my next choice. If I said if it's not Deion, who is it? Probably Kellen Moore.
Last thing I'll ask you, we got this national championship game on Monday night. We got sidetracked a little bit, but got about 90 seconds, 2 minutes left. Give me the argument, if you can, why Notre Dame can beat Ohio State.
I think if they win, it's got to be ugly. We saw Michigan, similar style of team, defensive led, smash mouth on the offensive side of the ball. And Notre Dame has a better quarterback than Michigan had when Michigan beat Ohio State in the shoe. I think Texas laid out a little bit of a game plan, how to not get smoked by Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, keep them in front of you. But Notre Dame has to make some adjustments. They play more man-to-man coverage than anybody in the country. They're going to have to play a little bit more zone. And I wonder if Al Golden will make some of those adjustments. But I do think they can kind of make this an uglier game, drag Ohio State in the mud, make it more of a just like a knife fight in a phone booth if you can. But if Ohio State gets ahead and they jump out to an early lead, 14-0, something like that, then I'm worried about Notre Dame. But I do think they are able to hold on and keep it closer. So I actually like a lower scoring game. I think they're going to play time of possession. They're clean. They usually don't turn the ball over. So I do think Notre Dame will make a game of it.
You can check them out on CBS, also Sirius, and make sure you check out BetOnline for a plethora of college football playoff final game and player lines, plus opening odds for the 2026 college football playoff. He is Danny Kanell. Danny, appreciate it.
Awesome stuff, Zach. Great talking to you, man.